opportunities for those with disabilities. I'm Lisa Oligas, and this is Newsmakers. According to the Best Colleges website, students with disabilities make up 20% of the undergraduate population. But not all students leave high school aware of their options for continued education. In this edition of Newsmakers, we examine the services available for students at the college level and in the community, and the paths to careers. And we learn about a special event to connect high school counselors with those opportunities. We begin our conversation with MSSU Academic Success Coach and Disability Services Coordinator Chris Mitchell and Joplin School's Assistant Special Education Director Julie Jasper. Welcome to Newsmakers. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us.
So most people know that the law provides for services in public schools through IDEA. So I'm going to ask you to do some of these acronyms for us, Julie. Tell us a little bit about what's already provided within the public school system. I know they are IEPs, individual education plans,
Yes,
but
tell
us what the law really mandates that we do offer for students with disabilities.
Sure. So there is a federal law, you referenced it, IDEA, which stands for Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. It's federal law. All states have to follow it. Within Missouri, it's housed through Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, DESE, and all public school districts have to identify students who have disabilities that meet certain criteria. There's a process for that, but anybody who is identified as a student with a disability has what's called an IEP, or Individualized Education Program or Plan, and it talks about what services does the student need to access their education and learn and have equitable access to their education just like any other student. It goes from pre-K all the way up through when they graduate high school.
So about how many students fall into that realm that you're serving in the Joplin school system?
In the Joplin school system, we have just over 1,300 students who are on an IEP. It's roughly 16-ish% of our district population. The state average is somewhere just over 15% right now.
And in some cases that could mean an actual physical person assisting them. What are some of the accommodations that they might have in the public school system?
So there are several different eligibility categories. You could be talking about children at the early ages who have a developmental delay of some kind. They just need a little extra time and a little extra attention to meet those needs and grow. You could be talking about students who are somewhere on the autism spectrum, anywhere from high autistic needs or lower autistic needs. It varies by the student, and there has to be that educational impact. You could be talking about a student with a learning disability. You could be talking about a student who has an orthopedic impairment, or maybe a student who has ADHD that is impacting their ability to access their education.
So
there's
disabilities
a
covers
big
a large spectrum.
Variety. Blindness, deaf and hard of hearing, you know, there's just a very wide variety of options there.
So Chris, talk to us, where is the disconnect when it comes to moving from finally the high school program to a college setting? Where do students maybe get lost or not know what services that we have here?
Well, it started with a conversation that I had with a gentleman. If I can go into just a short story. You know, I was out just on an evening, ran into a guy. I had my Southern shirt on, and we were talking. He's like, "Oh, you work at Southern?" I said, "Yeah." He said, you know, I'm a case manager for special education at a local school." And I said, "Oh, that's great." And he's like, "I've actually got 4 of my students who are going to go into different universities or schools." He's like, I'm so excited about that. I said, "That's fantastic." And he said, "You know, you've got one that's coming out to Missouri Southern." I said, "Great. You know, when are they going to meet with me?" And he said, "You know, I told him, I talked to the parents, and I've talked with, you know, the student, and said, you absolutely have a ton of potential, and, you know, you can do those career goals that you've got, and there's a way for you to get accommodations out there." And I said, "There is, absolutely." And he said, "You know, I told him, you know, you'll need to find them." And it was like,
and you're like, "But that's me."
Yeah. And so, I mean, I wonder how many conversations, you know, I don't know where the disconnect is, but my hope is through my actions and what we've got here at Missouri Southern, we can make connections with our regional schools and close that gap so that we can have those conversations with potential students who know, you know, so that they know, hey, I'm going to Missouri Southern. I know to find Chris Mitchell in the Disability Services offices. It's in the Student Success Center in 308 of Hearns. Or if I, you know, I've got an email, or for a school district to be able to say, you know what, we've got some students here that are coming along. Let's make a connection, and they want to go to Southern. Let's give Chris a call and see if he can come in and talk with the parents about what needs to happen. So we don't. I don't know where the disconnect is, but I know that we can build some bridges to prevent disconnects.
Make people aware that there are accommodations.
Yeah, that there are accommodations, and it doesn't just need to be a student with an IEP. That's one thing that I've heard a little bit as I've been in my office and speaking with students renewing their 504 plans, which I can talk about that in a little bit. The difference between a 504 and an IEP. But as they renew those, some of them didn't know that they could get accommodations that, since they didn't have an IEP in high school. Maybe they didn't qualify for an IEP in high school, so they didn't get those services, but we can go ahead and still work with them. And so those conversations for kids that are coming out of high school to know, yeah, I can get in touch with somebody. And
well, and I think part of that might stem from some people not being aware what qualifies as a disability. You mentioned a lot of them, Julie, but decades ago, being hyperactive just made people think you were the kid who got in trouble all the time. According to Best Colleges, roughly 17% of undergrads now report having ADD or ADHD. 6% a learning disability, and 5% having autism. So is knowing if your disability qualifies maybe part of the problem? And is it likely that some disabilities are underreported? I mean, is that part of this education we need to have?
Yes. If I've got a documented disability, whether it's from a condition that someone is dealing with, whether it be from a physician or from a mental health provider, we can work to create an accommodation plan. The guiding parameters that I have are the accommodations need to be reasonable and appropriate. So the end goal is a little different than K-12. In K-12 there's that expectation of success, guaranteeing a level of success for the students as they're coming through. In higher ed, my mark is guaranteeing access. So it's a little bit different. But it's also, you don't have to have had an IEP in high school. It could be a student that's gone and found out that they are dealing with PTSD, and they've got
I was just going to ask that. Do people look at physical disabilities and mental disability issues differently when seeking supports? Maybe they think, well, I'm bipolar. That doesn't.
Right.
I won't get support because it's not a physical disability.
I think that may be a mindset. That there are accommodations for people that have disabilities. I'm dealing with something, but it wouldn't qualify as a disability, and that's a thought process that I'd like to see change. For our students here, we have a lot of students who deal with a variety of different conditions and things that make accessing their education more difficult. And if an impairment or a condition that they're dealing with makes it hard for them to get up and go to class, getting out of bed because depression just causes a shutdown for a day. If that's a problem that's impeding their ability to access their education, then we can build a plan to help them with that.
And what are some of the services available that students need to know?
We've got it's really individualized. There, it's very much like an IEP, and as long as it's, again, reasonable and appropriate, we've got everything from extended time for testing. We've got different assistive tools. Some students need to record lessons because they get distracted and they can't stay focused well, and so they ask, can I record the lesson so I can go back and replay it and go through the notes again a second time. Note takers for students. There are a lot of them, and then there isn't a laundry list to really go through and check. It's through conversations and getting to know the students that are in front of me and hearing what they need as an accommodation. In their experience, what is it that, because of their condition that they're dealing with, how is that keeping them from accessing their education, and what do they need to help them overcome that obstacle and have access and get that that education, that certification, that degree to get on to the career that they want.
Yeah. So you're planning a big event to sort of make connections with those in schools. Tell us a little bit about the name of this event and the information that you're wanting to share with the school counselors.
So we came up with an idea. Alex Gandy, the director of career services
We'll talk with
at
him
Missouri
shortly.
Southern,
Yeah.
and it was MSSU to careers for students with disabilities. It's a 4-hour conference for our regional schools. You know, the crowd that we hope to get in are the professionals that are working with the families so that they can sit around the table in those last IEP meetings or as they're advising them in, you know, in their offices, to get to the professionals and say, hey, look, Missouri Southern is a welcoming environment for students with disabilities, and we've got resources and people to work with your students' needs. This is how you get to them. This is what we can do. This is how you can use Missouri Southern to get a degree, to get onto a career. This is how our instructors work with that sort of thing, how we communicate with each other, but you know, the instructors and our offices. You know, we have the possibility of a student interacting with us to, you know, just kind of share the story of what it's like.
Their journey and their challenges.
Yeah, from being apprehensive to talk about, hey, I've been dealing with some things, to, yeah, this is a good place and they can help me.
Yeah. Julie, how can it be helpful for counselors to learn, like, oh, this university has this, that university has this? I mean, because students often come to you to say, what should I do next?
They do. So one thing that's in place for students with an IEP who are over the age of 15 right now, next year it's going to turn into any student 8th grade on up through high school, has to have a transition plan. And in that transition plan, we talk about, what are you going to do after high school? Are you going to get a job? Are you going to go to college? Are you going to join the military? And what things can we put in place within the IEP to ensure that you are working on goals that are going to help you attain whatever those goals are? And it also includes things like independent living, all kinds of pieces there. And so within that, if we have these relationships and the knowledge of what various colleges have to offer our students, that's an easy conversation to include in there, and even bring the college to the table. If somebody already knows that they're going to go to Missouri Southern, that's what they want to do, that's golden, because we can invite Missouri Southern, or the parents can invite Missouri Southern to come in. And I think we talked a little bit about disconnect earlier. I think that disconnect comes because we work very hard with students to ensure that they understand how to advocate for themselves, but knowing how to do it, doing it, and carrying it over when mom and dad aren't in control anymore, because when they hit 18, mom and dad are not in control anymore. And we start talking about that the day they enter Joplin High School, because that is something, again, that's required. There's something called transfer of rights that's required, where we have to educate families that when they turn 18, they become the decision maker. College is no different. I remember going to college orientations for my own children where it was, you don't get to see the grades anymore. You don't get to do, you don't get to see that unless your child allows it, right? And that's new for a lot of people. And so it's the same thing. And so the more we can educate on that, the better off our students are going to be in the long run.
The General Accounting Office did a survey and said self-advocacy is one of the big issues. Is it hard for students to, I mean, is it hard for parents to even let go?
I think it's hard on
especially when
both.
your child does have a special need.
Yes, because parents are such an integral part of that IEP process. And the reality is, some kids have an IEP from a very young age all the way through high school. The goal of an IEP is to not need the IEP anymore, right? That's always what our goal is. We love it when that happens, but it can't always happen because life changes and people keep growing, and sometimes there are gaps that aren't able to be closed K-12, but it doesn't mean college isn't accessible for them. There are still options. And so working through that and helping them to understand that, and helping the parents to understand there are people who are still going to help your child, but it's your child who's driving the ship instead of you.
It's kind of, you have to ask.
Yes.
I mean, so self-advocacy is asking for accommodations, and is there a danger that they might have gotten to a pattern of, it's always provided for me?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
That maybe is part of this education of
I
making
do.
sure?
I think that kids, who have been on an IEP for a very long time make assumptions. Well, the teachers are always going to watch out for me. My case manager is always going to tell me what I need to do. The case manager might remind me that I need to remind teacher A that I get this whatever extended time or whatever it happens to be. But to know it and to internalize it, I think, is the hard part. It's that internalization piece of how do I translate this into my adult life? And we work and try to, but sometimes trial by fire is trial by fire too. And so some people, we have to get hit upside the head. I've had to be hit upside the head a few times on certain things to really pick up and say, oh yeah, I do need to do that. And it's no different for kids sometimes, you know, and so that we can put all the scenarios in place and tell them, but until they are living it, it sometimes is hard to recognize. And if they don't know that that's even an option, then what?
Yeah. So Chris, what's the date of the event?
It's September 9th.
Okay.
It's from 8 to 12. It'll be in Billingsley. And, you know, just to cap off what you were saying, I think we can work on making that transition and that handoff to higher education better for parents and students just by sitting at the table together and saying, hey, you know what, yeah, we know some people over there that we can contact and get you.
And tell your student they should contact me to
Yeah,
self-advocate.
absolutely.
So that they know, make those connections.
But it is hard. I mean, there's the students that I've spoken with that really do struggle with that. Yeah, I know that I need to, but can you help me? Yeah, I can coach you along a little bit, and we can get down that road. Absolutely.
Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll be joined by Alex Gandy from MSSU Career Services to discuss how the event will help bring awareness to the variety of opportunities available for those with disabilities for job preparation.
I work.
I work.
I work. And I want to keep working.
I work for the challenge.
Because people are counting on me. To provide for my family.
And I'm employed today because we work together.
Work together.
Work together.
When my life changed in an instant.
When I got hurt.
Needed support.
We made a plan.
So I could come back strong.
So I could stay in the game.
Because we couldn't succeed without it.
It wasn't a matter if I could go back to work.
It was a matter of when and how.
Because working works.
Working works.
It lets me earn a living.
Be there for the teams. Together, we made a plan. To keep me on the field for 2,632 games in a row.
To keep me working.
America works best when all Americans can work. Ensuring workers can stay on the job or return to work following an injury or illness is essential to America's economy. To learn more, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
According to the U.S. Department of Labor, the employment population ratio for people with a disability was 22.7% in 2024, compared to 65.5% for those without a disability. The unemployment rate for people with a disability was 7.5%, while for those without a disability, it was 3.8%. Helping students with disabilities get the training they need to become gainfully employed is also a goal of an upcoming conference. Joining our conversation to learn about these options is Career Services Director Alex Gandy, and returning with us are Chris Mitchell and Julie Jasper. Thanks you all for being here.
Thanks for allowing us to be here.
Alex, how common is it for you to have students with disabilities needing guidance in their job search?
Relatively common. One of the cohorts that we see most often are students who are going through the higher education process academically, but then when they start to prepare to transition from the classroom to their career, they realize, hey, I don't necessarily know how I fit into the career world. They've been very well prepared academically, but I'd love to help equip them for their careers.
Yeah. The Department of Labor says participation in the labor market is at around 40% for those with disabilities. Are there certain career fields that are maybe better than others at employing this population, or companies that are maybe more forward-thinking?
Absolutely. So especially within Southwest Missouri, what we see a lot of manufacturing, healthcare, retail, and even computer information science. And those four primary industries are very, I would say, friendly and creative in working with individuals with disabilities. And the important aspect is to help educate our students here at Missouri Southern and our students here in the Southwest Missouri area of those employers, that they are willing to work with them. But oftentimes, individuals with disabilities will disqualify themselves before they ever even apply for a job. And that's where we are really hoping to collaborate together to educate and equip our students within the region that there are resources and people here to help you.
Yeah. I mean, because I think there's this assumption, I can't do that job.
Absolutely. It's one of the things that even so comparatively to an individual without disabilities or an individual with disabilities, we are so quick to be self-deprecating and to disqualify ourselves. If there's 10 bullet points of a job description, if I don't meet one of those, then all of a sudden I can't apply for that job. With an individual with disabilities, it's even more magnified. And so we want to remind them that employers can be flexible and willing to work with you.
Okay. Do businesses need to be more accommodating, or are many already doing a good job?
I would say employers still there's still some educational opportunities for our employers. And what I mean by that is asking more effective questions. So when someone discloses in an application process that they do have a disability, then that employer or talent acquisition specialist or HR generalist ask more questions about what do they need for an accommodation, because that's where employers can be very flexible and quite creative, frankly, within the workplace.
Yeah. Julie, tell me, when you're talking with high school students with disabilities, do many of them have specific career goals, or do they sometimes go, I don't know what I want to do?
It varies. Some of them really do have a lot of ideas of what they want to do. And our job at the high school level, and really all through education, is to help guide them on that path to get them to that next level for employment. We have some programs in Joplin that allow our students to work and hold a job and earn high school credit for their job to help them on their path towards graduation. We have a program at Joplin High School called Job Sites, where we have some of our students who have some disabilities who are able to actually go out and, with some assistance from staff, work in some of our local community businesses. And they don't get paid for that, but they are exposed to those
work environment.
Skills and able to learn some of those skills that will be important for them in their adult lives.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Chris, how does MSSU work to align the students with training that can lead to job placement? I mean, are there specific programs you work hand in hand with Alex here? How does that work?
We do work closely, and I think that, you know, for an individual student that comes into the office, and, you know, and as they're sitting talking with me, as we're going through and talking about accommodations, I'm listening for, you know, this is what I want to do, or boy, if I could get an internship, that would be really helpful, or if I hear that gap or that spot open up, then it's, hey, let me get you in touch with Mr. Gandy and see if we can look at the possibility of internships and the importance of internships or job shadowing. And I'll let Alex talk to that. But I mean, those pieces are even short-term pieces are so important in building that resume and that work experience. Go ahead.
We always talk about getting a foot in the door, but I mean,
Yeah.
do we have a good, I guess, track record of getting people with disabilities in the door?
Absolutely. So one of the things I would say are really effective at is partnering with Chris and partnering with academic departments on campus and identifying those students who have disabilities who are willing to get engaged. And so whether those are career fairs or job shadows or internships, we try and sit down with them and help them articulate the knowledge that they have from their experiences, the skills that they have, because they bring value to any employer. The challenge is helping them understand that they can have confidence, that they have valuable educational experiences, they have valuable professional experiences, but they got to put that on paper on a resume, and they need to be able to verbally vocalize that in a career fair setting, and so coaching that up through workshops and individual appointments.
I mean, that kind of adds to that self-advocacy, you know, and a lot of people are shy to talk about themselves.
Absolutely.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be someone with a disability. It's selling yourself, in a sense.
Absolutely.
Is it even harder than maybe for someone with a disability who might say, well, I can't do that? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
do they suffer from that others might say, oh, I don't know how to talk about myself in a positive way?
I would kind of even agree with Julie. It kind of depends on the person, and it depends on what maybe their specific struggle is or what their specific disability are. But within each personality or each individual disability, there are different coaching methods that we use from a career coaching perspective to help them understand you bring value. That you are valuable to any organization and employer, that you've had a great education from K-12 to now here at Missouri Southern. So let's focus on the positives. Let's focus on those experiences that you've had. And so then in connecting them to the knowledge of their abilities and skills, equipping them with maybe some interview skills and some resume writing best practices, that's when we see some real positive connections from students' applications to actually getting jobs.
Yeah. So you mentioned internships. Do many businesses have internship programs that they're willing to welcome students with disabilities?
You bet they do, especially within Southwest Missouri, the manufacturing sector, the retail sector, as well as even computer information sciences. Those three sectors of industry around here are very accommodating, and I don't want to highlight just one because I would forget to name the whole list. But when I work with HR generalists and talent acquisition specialists and helping them understand that pathway to gain not only talent within their place of business, but maybe those individuals want to stick around. Oftentimes when I work with students with disabilities, they love being here in the Joplin, Missouri area and they want to stay here. So then connecting them with a very, I would say, creative or flexible employer is valuable, and we have some great partnerships.
That's great. So the state of Missouri has a disability portal to help individuals find jobs. How can that be a help, and are there other resources like that for students with disabilities to look for, maybe online?
There's a couple different, I would say, resources. Of course, every state has a vocational rehab program that is very effective in working with individuals with disabilities, and they have some really strong partnerships in the state. And so that'd be always my first recommendation for a student is if they haven't connected with, it's actually the Joplin Job Center. And Chris and I were just there this morning equipping some of their career counselors with the knowledge and abilities of what we do here at Missouri Southern. But also, there's a wide variety of portals online that they can, whether that is advising disabilities or disability solutions. Those are two specific programs that really help. They're not just LinkedIn or Indeed. Those can be two pretty, I would say, daunting or intimidating places for an individual to go seek for a job if they want to be transparent about their disability. But there are some very unique nonprofit organizations that run some fantastic job boards that I'd love to refer to you.
So Chris, what are some of the other agencies that will be participating in this event?
So we'll have faculty members that will be involved. We'll have a student voice that will be there and speaking with our guests. And then Voc Rehab, Joplin Voc Rehab has asked to come in and be a part of it. They were super excited about the opportunity to be a part of the day, to present what they do and how they can assist students with students and community members, because the teachers that are going to be there and the process coordinators and the special education directors, and they go to the grocery store, they have circles of friends, they go to churches and are involved in the community. So getting that word out of, hey, there are a lot of resources for our students here and people that maybe aren't coming out of high school that they're looking at, I want to go back and get a certificate, or I want to get an associate's degree or a 4-year degree. Missouri Southern is open and accepting of that.
All right, well, let's remind everyone of the event date and time.
It's September 9th, 8 o'clock.
All right.
Absolutely.
Thank you all for telling us all about it. Great information. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope you'll share the information on those who could benefit from the upcoming event. That wraps up this edition of Newsmakers. Thanks to our guests, and thank you for watching.